Over 80% of global trade is carried by sea. We're talking about trillions of dollars of goods constantly moving across the planet right now. Today, we're diving into this explainer to decode the fascinating and, let's be honest, often confusing alphabet soup of global shipping terminology that actually makes all of that happen. If you've ever stared at a logistics contract and just felt totally overwhelmed by all the acronyms, well, you're in the exact right place. Let's get right into it. Because really, it comes down to the million-dollar question for any business crossing borders. When things go wrong, and yeah, in international trade, they definitely do from time to time, who actually controls your shipment? Whose responsibility is it? Who owns the movement, the mountain of paperwork, and the massive financial risk when a container gets delayed at a port or damaged in transit? To figure this all out, we're going to navigate the global trade maze, meet the heavy hitters, the freight forwarders and customs brokers, compare what they do, unpack the Incoterms playbook, and then put the whole puzzle together. Section 1, the global trade maze. Section 2, meet the freight forwarder. Moving goods globally involves just an incredible amount of complexity. But thankfully, we have specialists whose entire job is to handle that heavy lifting for us. Enter the freight forwarder. Think of them as the ultimate architect of your shipment's journey. They arrange the transport and manage the precise logistics to ensure everything moves smoothly. But here's the really fascinating part. They don't actually drive the trucks, they don't fly the planes, and they definitely don't sail the ships. Instead, they tap into this massive, deeply connected network of global carriers to execute the plan. They're essentially a highly connected travel agent, but for your cargo. And their responsibilities? They are vast. They're the ones organizing the absolute best transport method for your specific timeline, booking the carriers, and even consolidating your smaller shipments with others to save you some serious cash. But crucially, they're your eyes and ears on the ground. So if a sudden delay pops up, say a port strike or a nasty weather event, your forwarder is the one actively finding alternative routes, arranging cargo insurance, and coordinating temporary warehousing to keep your supply chain moving. And they do all of this so you don't have to panic. Just imagine the journey. Step 1, your forwarder coordinates a fleet of trucks to pick up goods directly from a bustling factory floor in China. Step 2, they've already booked space on a massive sea vessel for the main oceanic voyage. And step 3, before that ship even docks, they've got trucks waiting at the port to handle the final delivery right to your U.S. warehouse door. It is a completely seamless orchestration of physical movement across thousands of miles. Section 3, meet the customs broker. Now actually moving the goods, that's really only half the battle. Next, we meet the ultimate border translators, the customs brokers. This is a licensed expert who ensures your shipments strictly follow the destination country's rules, taxes, and duties. They don't just offer friendly advice either, they are officially licensed to help your business get goods through customs smoothly. This role is absolutely critical because, let's face it, government authorities do not mess around. The broker acts as your direct intermediator, doing literally everything in their power to prevent your goods from being delayed, hit with massive fines, or worse, entirely seized at the border. Without them, you'd be drowning in a sea of international trade law all on your own. If you think doing your yearly taxes is a headache, try classifying a shipment of specialized electronics under international tariff laws. It's a nightmare. But brokers handle that grueling paperwork so you don't have to. They classify your goods using complex harmonized system or HS codes. They calculate the exact landed costs, ensure strict regulation compliance, and actually submit the payments and permit applications directly to the authorities on your behalf. Section 4, comparing forwarders and brokers. When we put these two side by side, the distinction becomes crystal clear. Forwarders are completely dedicated to physical logistics and transportation, getting that box from point A to point B, whether it's an import or an export. Brokers, on the other hand, are strictly focused on the paperwork. They are the licensed government specialists handling the duties, the legalities, and they primarily deal with imports. So while the forwarder handles the cargo space and the tracking, the broker handles the compliance and the government submissions. So when do you actually use which? Well, you bring in a freight forwarder when you're dealing with complex logistics involving multiple transport types or geographic locations. You lean heavily on a customs broker when you're unsure of the customs process, moving high-value items, or when you need special, restricted permits, like FDA or EPA approvals. But, hey, here is some great news for your business. To streamline shipping, you'll very often find that your freight forwarder already has a licensed customs broker directly on their staff, which gives you a really nice centralized in-house solution. Section 5, the Incoterms playbook. Now that we know who moves the pieces and who handles the paperwork, let's take a look at the rules they follow. Way back in 1936, the International Chamber of Commerce introduced standardized Incoterms to help facilitate global trade. These are universal rules that dictate exactly who is responsible for what. And the very first major division of these rules depends entirely on how your cargo is actually traveling. For instance, if it's traveling exclusively by sea. Now, pay attention to this because there's a critical division here where a lot of businesses make incredibly costly errors. There are rules designed for any mode of transport. That includes multimodal journeys involving planes, trains, and trucks. Then there are rules strictly for sea and inland waterways. It is a major mistake to use maritime-only rules for containerized air or road freight. If your goods are moving in standard containers across multiple modes of transit, mixing up these categories can lead to massive legal headaches regarding who pays for a damaged container. You should always be pulling from the multimodal rules.
Section 6. Putting it all together.
If we strip away all the confusing jargon, every single one of the 11 Incoterm rules shares these general obligations. The A1 rules universally mandate that the seller provides the goods, the commercial invoice, and evidence of conformity. The B1 rules universally mandate that the buyer pays the price for the goods as stated in the contract, right? That's the baseline expectation for everyone. The real differences, and frankly the real financial risks, emerge when we start looking at who handles the complex clearances.
Let's look at EXW, or Ex-Works. Under this pretty extreme rule, the seller simply leaves the goods at their loading dock and boom, their job is done. They have absolutely no obligation to arrange clearances. The buyer must carry out all export, transit, and import formalities at their own cost. Because the buyer takes on this massive, complex burden, EXW is really much better suited for domestic trade rather than cross-border shipments. Unless, of course, you have a huge logistical infrastructure already set up in the origin country. Now let's compare that to FCA, or Free Carrier, and see how this builds a much better framework. Here, the seller carries out the export clearance formalities in their own country, and the buyer carries out the import clearance formalities upon arrival. This just elegantly divides the responsibility based on who knows their local laws best, making FCA incredibly well-suited and just way more balanced for standard international trade.
As the experts at Trade Finance Global have noted, the volume of world merchandise trade continues to grow despite macroeconomic and geopolitical uncertainty. Because our global supply chains are growing increasingly complex with every passing year, mastering these standardized rules and knowing exactly when to rely on a forwarder versus a broker is your absolute best defense against costly disputes, border delays, and seized cargo.
I want to leave you with this final thought. Audit your shipping terms today to ensure you aren't carrying unnecessary risk on your next global shipment. Seriously, take a hard look at your latest shipping contract right now. Are you truly using the right Incoterm for your specific transport method? Thanks so much for joining me on this explainer. Keep learning, stay focused, and I'll catch you next time.